dissociate from actually being in the moment, and this is where reality is. The rest of it is ideas and fantasies.
Right, and illusions.
Yeah. I don't know if I told you the story of my friend, a psychologist, and I would go on vacation and he would take my clients and vice versa. And I'd write him postcards from wherever I was. You know, I was coming to Thailand and then India. And I remember, you know, the first postcard was from Koh Phangan, and I was laying on the beach. Laying on the beach on Koh Phangan, life is so hard, it's so rough, you know, blah, 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 that kind of thing. And every few days I would send him a postcard, you know, and every time I'd write one, it was just, you know, my caring for him and, you know, trying to think of something funny to say. And I got back to America. This was at a time where there wasn't internet and all of that. I got back to America, and he had died 2 days after I left. He was in an auto accident.
Interesting.
And my fantasy was that he was there and he was reading these, and we would laugh about them. And it's just fantasy, you know. And it's like, I believe I have an apartment over there on Soi 59. I believe it, and God damn it, you know, I'll fight you if you don't. And yet I could go there, and it could not be there for one reason or another.
Sure.
You know? And I mean, it's this paradox just gets so weird for us, because so much of what we do is built on faith, you know. And these, you know, back to the Dawkins and the Hitchens and all these guys that are, you know, talking about the faith-based people. Everybody's faith-based. We all have all kinds of hallucinations that oftentimes are true, but there's going to be some time that they aren't, and that's going to just, you know, the whole edifice comes crumbling down.
Sure. And I think that's what causes huge degree of anxiety, is the feeling that maybe things won't be continuous, that things are changing in a way that it's disrupting, that the apartment on Soi 59 will just vanish.
Yeah. Well, excitement is a good word, very interesting word. One of my teachers taught energetic psychology, so looking at the body. And what he said about excitement is frozen expression. So anxiety is frozen expression. I meant to say anxiety, but actually they're both.
Yeah.
But I get anxious because I'm holding on to something, and if that energy has gone up into theoretical potential, you know, which it does for most of us because we're so dissociated from experience, then we can be. You can come to see me for anxiety attacks.
Sure.
You know? I mean, that's one of the things.
Maybe every age has been an age of anxiety, and you know, although we're in the moment, the present is like Tito was saying. You know, what about history? You know, there's a whole number, for thousands of years we have records of people who lived, of great minds, who asked many of the same questions that we're asking today. But a lot of those writings, a lot of those people, you don't see them referred to. People are not as interested as what the wisdom of the past was and how it's to be received in the moment now. In other words, how does the past enrich us? How does the past poison us? Are two fundamental questions.
Sure. Well, materialism seems to orient us more towards the present and more towards satisfaction and filling ourselves up, and the past gets lost. The extensive use of the internet, Nicholas Carr talks about, as he's used the internet more and more, he's losing the ability to focus on reading.
Sure. And
part of his studies was looking at how the prefrontal cortex is getting overstimulated, and the areas that keep reflective thinking are understimulated, and we're moving into kind of a hyper presence, which the stimulation just knocks the past away. I mean, the idea of cycles. I mean, we don't even, think of that 5 years ago. What was going on 5 years ago?
Sure.
There's so much happening now. There's no room for the reflective part of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's a kind of famous statement where someone asked a French historian what he thought of the French Revolution, and his reply was, "It's too early to tell."
Yeah.
It's if you think about how children are in the world, children are in a world of play. They take nothing for granted because for them almost everything is experienced for the first time. And we get so jaded in our lives that we stop experiencing life in a joyful way of the awe of things. We go through life in a way where we're filtering out all the things that children don't filter out, that we didn't filter out when we were children. And we lose our capacity for play and to be playful, to be less serious.
To walk out of the house with nothing in your pocket.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And when you're a kid, you do that all the time. You don't think about it. You don't think about, oh God, do I have my driver's license? Do I have my credit cards? Do I have this? Do I have that? And then when you're a kid, you just walked out.
It's interesting to look at that culturally. And, the materialistic cultures see play as something that you do in between work, that kind of thing. But in Hindu culture, Leela is the word for play, and Leela is the play of the universe. The universe is the great play, rather than us fragmenting it and oh, this is play, and this is work, and that whole fragmentation of our being. So you could say that the being is play, and then our various ways of being conditioned fragment that play. And I love to go into some of the just even here in Bangkok, some of the restaurants and things, and watching the people working there. They're playing around, and it's so funny. I've had this experience several times of having friends come over here to visit and being kind of blown away, and not necessarily a positive way, because the waitress is not doing the way the waitress should do it, and she's laughing and giggling with somebody and taking the order and then looking away and whatever,
Yeah, I think that's right. I think in modern consumerism life, we've compartmentalized play and work. And part of it has to do with we live in a highly structured systems where control is very important. Our work is controlled, our thoughts, values, and how we perceive play and our role in play. And if you play in a way that is inappropriate for that culture, people are surprised, maybe offended,
sure,
maybe even a little afraid, because it's out of their realm.
Right.
That these aren't children; these are adults, and they're playing.
Yeah, shame on them.
It's shame on them. It's just like you have to put play is for children in a playground or in front of a computer on a game or something. Mm-hmm. And that's a very strange thing that we've done to children that we've done to ourselves.
Yeah, well, it gets
we've
back
robbed
into
ourselves of the kind of fun and joy of pure play.
Well, what we've done is we've moved into having control as being the primary value. And, back to the materialistic paradigm. Nature is a thing to be dominated and controlled. And it's both the enemy, but it's also not us somehow. So we disconnected from a sense of being part of nature. We pulled ourselves out of it. We will become as gods over and above nature, at least in that paradigm. And, there we go.
Sure.
And what's so interesting to me is that control, that identity of control, is really undercut by fear. There's fear underneath that.